My dear guests, I am Mr. Ron, your host. Welcome to Fantasy Island.
So, we're doing a long-standing one that I've been waiting on. I've been holding this back for a long time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yerg.
All right. So, who here knows about a website called Something Awful?
Oh no.
I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know anything about Something Awful. Go. Why don't you give me a primer so that I'll be able to understand what it is we're about to be getting into?
Allow me to read for you a comment from someone. The same person who I actually got this from on Reddit. Thank you to user Gecko99. The Something Awful forums in the early days was almost like a proto-Reddit. Some of the goons were quite talented and would post some really crazy stories. One of my favorite things from those days is a post from Adaptive Systems from 2001. Fellow goon Screw Loose had posted a thread asking goons what they would wish for if they were to go to Fantasy Island from the 1970s TV show.
Oh no, this is gonna end poorly.
So,
Somebody's gonna be like, I would fuck a kid.
19 hours later, Adaptive Systems shows up with a 7,000-word essay about how he would wish for... I'll go ahead and should I spoil what it is?
No, let us guess. Okay. And
Okay.
You know what? How about hot or cold? We'll do hot or cold.
All right.
Kid fucking.
All right.
Am I hot or cold?
Antarctic Circle.
Okay. London, you want to take a stab?
Creepy video games that strangely turned me on.
Matt, I don't know why you're asking Lundy what it could be about. Well, I don't know why you're asking Lundy when Lundy can just read from the thing on. Lundy, by all means, my friend, take the floor.
All right. Let me take a look here.
Read it out loud, please.
I am clicking on it to make it go, and my computer is being the gay.
I am making sure it is not, in fact, child pornography. It appears it is not. Disappointed.
It said Fantasy Island, and I was extremely upset when it wasn't what I thought it was. Anyway.
Fantasy Island.
Wow. Great topic, Screw Loose. I have so many memories of watching Fantasy Island as a very young boy. It was like the illicit money shot that followed the hour-long tease of Love Boat on Friday nights. Because of those memories, of course, I would have to go with Ricardo Montalban. I actually have yet to see Malcolm McDowell in the role, however, so to be perfectly fair to him as well, I have to admit that his English, drollery, and barely controlled, simmering pro rage might have won me over, had it only the chance. So, what would be my fantasy? I know precisely what my fantasy would be. I would receive $80,000 exactly. Now, as we all know, Fantasy Island was never simply about a person experiencing his or her fantasy. No, it was about a guest arriving at this mysterious island of fantasies to receive what was clearly some kind of highly experimental and probably illegal form of psychotherapy, to which they obviously hadn't given any sort of informed consent. That aside, every guest on the island came away from their vacation having learned what mistaken insecurity led them to think that their life was somehow lacking, and thereby giving rise to their wish fulfillment fantasies in the first place. So that we can all more fully appreciate the Fantasy Island dynamic at play in my fantasy, I need to give you some of the backstory that surrounds my head for the 80,000. It's very simple. I had a brilliant idea. All I needed to bring it to fruition was $80,000. Although I'm still a little leery of someone stealing my idea, I think I can lay it out on the table for you guys in sufficiently vague terms. I think I found a way to employ an off-the-shelf laser commonly used in fertility clinics to localize an electroporative field on the surface of a human ovum, allowing rapid influx of Ca2 through the zona pellucida, which should hopefully, in turn, cause the cytoplasmic rearrangements that should lead to proper formation of the primitive groove, thereby overcoming the fear of teratological complications that have heretofore plagued research into human parthenogenesis. Or in other words, for $80,000, I'm 90% sure I can bring a genuinely parthenogenic human embryo to term. Yes, that's right. I could create a human ovum that would grow to be a perfect clone of its mother. Sorry.
Okay, we need to pause.
Yeah, I was gonna say you want to take a pause and just.
We need. There's a lot to take in. So,
by the way, just real quick.
I was very curious when he said $80,000 because I was like, "Where is he going with this?"
That's a very strangely specific number.
Yeah. And like, because I thought it was going to be something like, oh, like this fucker's just like tricking people. I'm just going to ask for some money and just money, and then boom, like that's how that's how you beat the system on Fantasy Island, right? It's like dealing with a genie, right?
Yeah.
You can't have any wiggle room in what you tell. I don't even remember the Malcolm McDonald fucking one.
I don't either.
Malcolm Ian? I don't even remember who. I'm really...
McDowell, I think it was. There's 38 pages in this go. I just realized that.
Yeah, and we're on page 2.
I didn't think it would go to cloning.
I didn't either. Cloning was definitely entirely out of left field for me.
I don't think if I sat here all night, I would have guessed cloning. I would have guessed dinosaurs before cloning.
Why would you like to code?
Once I realized
dinosaurs
this,
cloning.
I immediately set about finding a way to raise money. There's no way in hell the NSF is going to give $20,000 to an unaffiliated researcher, and certainly not one that caused the fiasco in '97. What?
Okay, yeah, what?
What happened in '97? What are you? What?
What is the fiasco of that? Somebody Google that. What was the organization?
The NSF.
Yeah, somebody Google NST fiasco 97. That has to be something.
Right, you got wrestling on the brain there, Matt. So there was obviously no chance of getting the money from them. Also, there's that whole unaffiliated researcher part, which involves some arguments that are better off not being rehashed. And also a tire iron, a full set of broken metacarpals, and a fully dismantled ABI 973 sequencer. So, where could I possibly get this money?
I guess that was the fiasco of 97. He beat somebody with a fucking tire iron.
In order to steal a full set of metacarpals, which apparently broke.
No, I think he broke the person's metal. I think he broke their hand with the tire iron.
Maybe? I don't know what a metacarpal is.
It's either the foot or the... It's not the wavy bones. It's like... I think it's the bones in the hand, like the one that makes up the palm. It's either that or the ones in the foot that make up the foot part of the foot, not the toes. Unlike this guy, to be fair, like this guy, I'm an unaffiliated researcher as well.
So where am I going to possibly get this money? From you guys, of course. I could easily imagine the obvious responses that a request for donations would elicit. Somebody would say, use Google. Some hemorrhoidal hard case would launch themselves into tirade. That would just go like this. When I was your age, I funded my illegal scientific research by working my way up from fry cook to burger chef. Now, it wasn't fun and it wasn't glamorous, but if you really want to accomplish something in life, you'll be needing to make certain sacrifices, sometimes even including your own dignity, and blah, 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 blah. First of all, if you're doing discovery-driven science like I am, you're in a race, and there's no point in being in a race unless you're in it to win it. Can any of you name the first mammal cloned from a differentiated adult cell? Yeah, if you guessed Dolly, you are correct. Now, can any of you name any of the sheep, cattle, pigs, and mice cloned subsequently in the same way? No, of course not. Do you see my point? If I were to work as a fry chef for 10 years, I'll be beaten to the punch by some panty-waist NIH Aparchik who will use the technique to make droves of extra mice they can kill through the painless method of cervical dislocation while he beats off furiously under his soapstone bench. This guy's fucking intense. Don't think I'm coming to you guys just because I'm too lazy to seek out funds on my own. No, it's not like I haven't done absolutely everything I could possibly to get that kind of money on my own. Fuck me. That's not what he said. I submitted applications to numerous different IVF shared risk financial programs, both under my name and under the names of two young women that are going to help me in this endeavor. One donating eggs and the other obviously serving as a surrogate. He's got volunteers.
Damn, what a chat.
If this makes anybody feel any better, this was probably almost 20 years ago at this point. So,
now, the application of the first young woman.
No, that could make it worse. Like, he could have murdered these two people.
Possibly. The applications of the first young woman were all rejected because of her already large and outstanding medical school loans. And the applications of the other young woman were effectively disqualified on account of a string of arrests that she had racked up for solicitation and flagrant public indecency.
So, a drunk prostitute.
When my applications were rejected.
Wait. So, woman A.
Yeah. Woman A has medical school loans, outstanding medical school loans. And woman 2 is a prostitute who apparently, strips in public. It's not public drunkenness, it's public indecency. So.
Oh, she's probably one of those prostitutes who, you see them every so often. They have their titties or pussy out.
Just fucking showing it to everybody, being like, ah!
Yeah. It's like, here's the goods.
When my applications were rejected, for no reason at all, as far as I could tell, I called each of the financial institutions only to hear the same lame excuse each time. Nobody wants to fund infertility treatment for a single unmarried man. Well, fuck. Somebody could have told me that before I wasted all that effort applying. The process was a lot of work, just to submit the application, I had to submit a sperm sample to demonstrate that I was genuinely oligospermic. What? What is that condition? Is that swimming in circles?
Spell that.
His sperm's probably retarded.
OLIGO spermic.
Hang on.
It was sperm. I'm going to swim into the egg, and then it just swims into another sperm.
Low sperm count.
Okay.
Oh, fucking beta.
Since I lucked out in that my mother was a vegetarian and therefore didn't imbibe much of the bioaccumulating and highly efficacious estrogen mimic and pollutant, 2,3,7,8, 4 tetrachlorobenzoperidioxin, which effectively incapacitates the developing seminiferous tubules of any unlucky XY fetus. Wow. That happens to cross its path, thus leading to the amply documented epidemic of infertility among American males born between the late 50s and present day, and have a slightly above normal sperm count. It was obvious that I was going to have to specially prepare a sample of my sperm that had been artificially weakened. This isn't exactly impossible, but it's not trivially easy either. First of all, have you ever tried to come in a 750 microliter Eppendorf tube?
Well, so He's saying the opposite then. He's not a beta, he's an alpha. He's like, my sperm's too strong to get the grant. I need to I need to teach it spirit control so that my sperm can control its power level.
First of all, have you ever tried to come in a 750 microliter Eppendorf tube? It's not easy. It's like trying to come into a straw.
Come into a lot of things over the years.
You wouldn't believe how many
I
attempts
was
failed.
a really, really gross. I was a really gross teenager.
I believe you, Matt. We have many stories to confirm the fact that you are a very gross teenager. You wouldn't believe how many attempts failed before I figured out the right way to do it, which is to put it in the reservoir tip of a smaller Thanuzel condom, which holds the conical bottom of the tube surprisingly well, and make sure you get a really, really tight fit. Even then, difficulties will still remain to be surmounted. It's pretty difficult to reach sexual climax when you have what feels like a toothed lamprey trying to suck your urinary meatus inside out. I got myself out of this dilemma through the application of a very clever regimen of highly disciplined operant conditioning. Every night during Animal Planet's thrice-cementally Shark Week, I would religiously watch each program with my thumb on the VCR's record button, waiting for images of lampreys attached to sharks.
This helped me come.
I was very quickly able to assemble a 43-minute long videotape consisting of nothing but exciting, pulse-quickening scenes of sharks shooting through the deep, dangling, long, black lampreys.
Lamprey Shark Suckfest compilation 2020.
My enthusiasm may sound a little odd, but if you were to see this video, I am perfectly confident that you would agree. Now.
No. No. Maybe if we were Troy McClure, really obscure Simpsons reference there for everybody. But like, this is taking some weird. Like, it was already weird enough. He was going down like the mad science route, but now it's like, I come to lampreys now. This is what my life's become.
Not just lampreys, but sharks getting fucking bit by lampreys. It's just like, yeah.
It's about to get way better.
Equipped with this behavior modification tool, he just called this lamprey porn a behavior modification tool.
Just give it 1 second.
I initialize an intense daily visualization program in which, whilst viewing the video, I taught myself to see my penis as a silky smooth, ruthlessly efficient, 80-million-year-old predator stalking the seaweed veldt of the Pacific Basin.
This is the most insane fucking thing we've ever done on the podcast.
Real quick, Blondie, please read the next sentence for me.
Suddenly, a trio of lampreys appear and attach themselves to me. At first, I am horribly scared. My little shark brain doesn't know what to do. I swim as fast as I can, trying desperately to throw off the lampreys that seem to feed off my pain and suck and suck and suck on my flesh. I swim so hard that I nearly exhaust myself, slowing down, sinking down, with those little circle-shaped rows of teeth nibble on my sensitive dorsal regions, sending arcs of strangely exhilarating electric pain up and down my sleek aerodynamic frame.
This is about the time that he got the thing to touch his prostate with.
After approximately another week of this training, I was not only capable of overcoming the discomfort of the Eppendorf tube impinging on the delicate bulb of my glands, I was even finding it somewhat arousing. Truth be told, I was actually...
I'm just imagining.
Yeah.
Imagining this is like Bardock. Like, your father was a mediocre fighter, but a brilliant scientist. I'm just picturing a Goku-looking motherfucker training in a gravity chamber.
With lamprey porn.
Yeah. This is the most absurd. And you know what's fucked up? The scenario I just painted is only like maybe 5% more absurd than the actual scenario.
Truth be told, it was actually more difficult for me to return to what most of you would consider the normal procedure. Some of you are probably asking, but adaptive, why didn't you use the established technique for acquiring sperm samples from men who are either dead, uncooperative, severely neurologically impaired, suffering from a catastrophic vertebral injury, or actually horses? That technique, of course, being electroejaculation, which involves the rectal insertion of an electrical probe that looks something like an electric hair curler, followed by the application of increasing electrical current until the probe either induces ejaculation or heats itself to the point that it threatens to inflict first-degree burns on the entirety of the anal cavity. To answer your question, I want to be clear. I assure you that the reason I didn't employ the obviously appropriate method has nothing to do with any unscientific Freudian phobias.
I am not a faggot.
About being anally penetrated. In fact, if there's one thing I look for in a potential female companion, it's in this extremely advanced case of penis envy.
No, you have it all wrong. I am not an insane man. I just like to pretend that I'm a shark with lamprey sucking my dick while getting pegged by my wife, who is a 370 pound.
I really have to go to the bathroom, but I can't leave.
Go ahead and go to the bathroom, Matt. We'll take a quick break before we continue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
I'll be right
It's
back.
just getting better and better.
Oh, boy.
I think I've adopted the correct voice for it, too. A very excited, like, commercial man who may have done science fiction radio in the past.
This helps me completely forget about my partial deafness.
I love it. Now listen, the reason I didn't put the electromagnetic hair curler up my ass in order to force ejaculation isn't because I'm a faggot. No. Isn't because I'm not a faggot. It's because I am a faggot.
Oh my god. I'm not gonna. I don't want to say it on recording, but like, have you read a couple of sentences ahead? But look for the one where it says "was named" and read that. Can I just say, real quick?
What?
I've never. Hold on, let me count. Hold on. One.
Dude, I am very certain that this is all just like a meme post,
I
but
don't want to believe that.
it's so fucking funny. I want it to be real, and I want to meet the person that this is describing because they have led an interesting
Okay,
life.
I've never been more happy. I've never been more happy to say we are on page 5 of 38. Oh god, fuck whatever else I was thinking of for the night. This just needs to be the entire. Can we please read this entire thing?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right now, I'm totally down, but if I
We got steam barrel just full speed ahead at some point to get all the way through it. Focus, you've been quiet. How are you feeling right now?
Pretty amusing.
Focus just comes on so he can listen to the fucking episodes before they get uploaded. He doesn't. That's the only reason he's here.
Yeah, while I got you here, I got a question.
I am
Have
back.
you heard anything about TF2 being good again? What the fuck just left?
Oh, nothing. I accidentally clicked on the fucking green room for a second.
Oh, thank God. I thought that the crick bot left and came back in. I was like, am I going to have to fucking go through?
No.
About fucking scared the shit out of myself.
All right.
I was going to say, is TF2 okay to play again? I heard something about like source code being fucked up.
I have not been paying attention to TF2 whatsoever, so I don't know.
Damn it. All right. Matt, you ready?
Yeah.
That's eating. All right.
Let's do it.
So, To pick up where we left off, he's explaining why it is that he did not want to use the usual method for forcing an ejaculation, which apparently involves a electromagnetic rod that you place up your ass. He explains that it's not because he's afraid of having things stuck up his ass, because he's afraid of being gay. In fact, he very much fantasizes about his future female partner pegging him on a regular. So we pick up with, the real reason that I did not use this clearly superior method, in addition to the fact that EEG would be more expensive, is that I have a pathological fear of allowing probes explicitly designed to discharge electricity into my body. Now, this may seem cowardly, but if your third-grade school nurse was named Benny and walked around in 5-inch high rubber platform shoes attractively complemented by thigh-high PVC boots, and one of the little games you played with her resulted in your being rushed to the emergency room in a state of cardiac arrest, you wouldn't consider this cowardice either. God damn it. How you doing, Matt?
Did his school nurse molest him with like a fucking broken like electrical cord? What is this? I'm like baffled. I am like, I don't want to toot my horn, but I am the king of like painted baffling mind pictures. I am lost here.
In any case, once I had a high throughput method for producing suitably sterile specimens, reducing the sperm content was a simple matter of dropping the Eppendorf tube into my microcentrifuge, cranking the speed up to 20,000 RPM, and waiting a few minutes. It was fairly easy to calibrate the temporal duration of the centrifuge runs to produce the desired results. Running a series of samples for consecutively decreasing time intervals, I was able to determine precisely how long it took to remove all the sperm from the ejaculate. I could tell all of the sperm had been removed from the ejaculate when the contents of the liquid in the tube changed from being uniformly milky white to perfectly clear. With all of the sperm congealed in a snot-colored... Sorry, I had to fucking scroll down a bit. With all of the sperm congealed in a snot-colored pellet affixed to the outer side of the tube. Then it was a simple matter of deciding how much sperm I wanted to include, and I opted for a way under the clinical definition of oligospermia, somewhere around 5 million sperm per milliliter. Given that I already knew my sperm count was just about 20 million per milliliter, I just spun 75% of the sperm out of the semen. Simple. Finally, I made sure the pH was still somewhere between 7.2 to 8.0, and that everything else was kosher. He spun his semen. He just spun his semen until he... Then I thought that I merely needed to hide 3 of the tubes on my person, sign in at the fertility clinic, wait for the nurse to ask to take me back to the appropriate room, and then spend 10 minutes glancing with utter disgust at banal tit porn. Then uncap the tubes, push the call button, and voila! I will be a proud recipient of instant infertility financial risk insurance. Basically, a kind of extremely low interest loan that could be used for whatever kind of nefarious purpose you can imagine, provided you get a doctor's signature at some point. Believe me, the doctor-patient relationship is the greatest money laundering loophole ever created by man. But as you already know, all of this work was thwarted on account of my marital status. I was disqualified before I even left the gates. Before you raise the question of why I didn't just marry one of the 2 female accomplices, you should know that I tried. And that neither of the comely young ladies would consent to enter even a sham marriage with me, for reasons that will become apparent before the conclusion of this post. Actually, it won't, because I'm not going to reveal the identities of my co-conspirators. Take that, CIA! Just so you know, however...
And this is a good point to like bring up this, since he's brought up the CIA. I just realized something with this guy and how literally demented he is.
Yeah.
Even in his fantasy, where Fantasy Island is real. Anybody with any official capabilities is still like, this person's a nutcase. We should not fund him.
Just so that you know, however, the reasons that were tendered to me as explanations, as opposed to the real reasons, were that they were busy that day and couldn't get to the courthouse. So, before I had even started, I was out the $50 I spent for a single sterile bag of Eppendorf tubes, as well as a great deal of time. Despite all that work, I had gained nothing of value and learned nothing of value other than the fact that a person can buy an entire bucketful of 2 to 8 inch lampreys at an adequately stocked fishing store. What? He just bought lampreys?
Oh no. Oh no, who's buying the lampreys now?
And that if you are prepared to supply an average-sized aquarium filled with a thick stew of water, sand, and dirt, as well as a constant willing blood supply, they make well-behaved pets.
Oh.
What the fuck?
This guy is just dipping his dick in fish blood and letting the fucking lampreys go to town. His dick looks like his dick probably looks like a fucking roll of cookie dough batter once you take all the cookie pieces out of it.
Jesus Christ. Also, as a trivial aside, during my research on consolidated human ejaculate, I read in a book that if a person were to hypothetically eat small chunks of dried and concentrated sperm, it would theoretically taste almost exactly like those red-dyed pistachios you can buy at sporting events and county fairs. I would give you the title of that book, but I lost it.
I just want to say, perfect time for me to come back with my lunch. Should say. Also, perfect time to have a completely full cup of milk that I'm drinking out of.
You missed the fact that he has declared that after his experiments, he's decided to go get his own aquarium of lampreys and is feeding them his blood.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, let's be honest, he is feeding those things the blood from the tip of his dick.
So now that I've established that I did everything I could to acquire this money on my own, note, I also attempted to attain the money through both credit card fraud and small business loan fraud. The long-term consequences of these actions are negligible. In taking away my right to vote, the fuckers have done me a favor, frankly. And I don't see them hindering the project in any way whatsoever.
Hashtag Bernie or bust. Actually, no, never mind. Bernie's bad now.
Actually, to be fair, them taking away his right to vote does society more favors than it does him. Really.
Technically, I need to register with the local authorities upon crossing state lines, but not if they don't know that I've crossed. But not if they don't know that I've crossed state lines. I'll sketch out the reasons that I need a whole 80,000. First of all, the only possible location where we could hope to realize the aims of this project without incurring certain potentially hazardous legal complications is Ghana.
Land the future Hollywood.
Ghana makes extraordinarily liberal provisions under its reproductive law, primarily as a result of the fact that it has no reproductive law whatsoever. Also, it's the safest nation in sub-Saharan Africa. And how shall I say this? Sub-Saharan Africa is not a place where health inspectors suddenly show up to make sure that all your tools have been properly autoclaved and all of your isotopes have been kept in clean rooms.
What I'm trying to say is there's a reason there's so much AIDS there.
So it affords us a little bit of leeway in pursuing creative approaches to the problems at hand, and also has real benefits with our respect to the bottom line. And as prospective investors, I know you know the value in that. So, in a stroke of incredible luck, the absolute safest place in Ghana, the Labadi Pleasure Beach. That's a strangely apropos name.
The Labadi Pleasure Beach.
Located just outside Accra, actually still has a number of yearly lease properties available. I've spoken to a nice Ghanaian man, Victor Kassi, about securing a lease for a brand new 3-bedroom house intentionally built for Westerners. He said that he'd hold it for me as long as he could, but that I need to confirm my intent to commit on the lease soon. Because shortly into the new year, a fresh crop of these pretentious fucking Peace Corps tourists will swoop into the real estate market and spoil it. Also, I told him I was Kenji Furuya, a frontman for the world famous J rap group Dragon Ash. Dragon Ash is huge in Ghana.
Also, just real quickly, I posted a picture in case anybody doesn't remember what a lamprey looks like. That's what they look like, and that's how big they can get. This guy is putting those things on his dick.
Yep.
No, he's just fantasizing about them. Oh wait, no, never mind. I forgot he has his. He's putting those on his cock. My bad.
So the famous J-rap group Dragon Ash is really big in Ghana, apparently.
I'll have to remember to play one of their songs right here.
That's not too shocking. That's probably
It's $4,800 for a year, which is ample time to complete the entire program if everything goes according to plan. But I need that money soon. Mr. Cassie's number in Ghana is 0. It's a real number there. If you wish to call him to confirm that I've already set this up. But for the sake of mitochondrial Eve, don't fucking outbid me and don't tell him I'm not actually Kenji Furuya. I have a feeling that could queer the whole deal.
I just want to say, badass move. Just posting a man's phone number on a forum that I'm sure he definitely didn't get any phone calls when this was originally posted.
Okay, so I'm explaining where all this money is going to go. Well, that's actually kind of boring. Just know that the only reason that any of this is even remotely possible for the absurdly low price of $80,000 is that in addition to my working for free, I also bring to the table a fairly complete set of gynecological instrumentation. Over the years, I built up an impressive and complete collection, everything I think we could possibly need, from lateral vaginal retractors to uterine vulsellum forceps, to some really ticklish-looking endocervical brushes, to uterine dressing forceps, sponge forceps, Russian tissue forceps, uterine tenaculum hooks, to pretty much all the basics you really need to be able to say, I'm not technically a gynecologist, but I could probably solve your problems in a pinch.
So let's get this straight. He wants to go to Guyana under the identity of the lead singer of Japanese rock sensation Dragon Ash.
Yes.
Or J-pop, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
J-rap.
So he wants to set up an unlicensed clinic in, I'm presuming, a residential
on the beach
place.
So.
Yeah, residential beach view, and he's going to be using a bunch of probably defective black market Russian tools.
I see no problems with this plan thus far.
He killed those ladies. I hope.
As soon as he knew he wasn't going to get the money, he was like, "I cannot have you telling anyone who I am."
I really hope the two women are part of the delusional lies, because it's like, what part's real? Because this person is. If this is real, right?
Yeah.
It could be a shitter, but shitters were not this dedicated unless you were not on something awful. Like if this was Coast to Coast AM, I could believe this guy was a shitter, because you had shit like John Teeter, the time traveler?
John Teeter.
Yeah, you had shitters like that. But something awful, the shitters on there were basically like the shitters on 4chan. 4chan's the best example, even though technically 4chan was around back then, but 4chan it's a lot less prominent, and nobody really gave a shit about 4chan back then.
As an aside, for any potential hobbyists out there, you should know that to get a surprisingly diverse array of gynecological equipment for extremely low prices, provided you're willing to purchase it used, and not to ask any questions about where it came from. In fact, much of the equipment is so cheap that even if you weren't planning on performing unlicensed gynecological procedures, you owe yourself to look into acquiring some of this fine German quality merchandise, if for no other reason than to have them available as conversation starters.
Okay.
or possibly for purposes of
Okay, there we go.
self-defense.
Like, there's another wrinkle to throw into this. Not only is it so wait, they're German made, but he's getting them through Russia.
No, it's just
Also,
one of them
they're
is Russian.
used-
Okay. Let me fix this real quick, Matt. He was going over a list of gynecological instruments that he has. One of those items was Russian tissue forceps.
Oh, there are a couple of Russian items.
That's the
Oh,
only one
yes,
that's
he's
like Russian.
using like. Also, like all of these are probably like were used either A by back alley abortionist or B just like a woman who died. Like throw away these tools are cursed.
Now, the obvious fundraising benefits of employing the once famous former goon known as Random Lady in the as the surrogate are offset by the need to acquire a few pieces of equipment that might otherwise not be essential were we not to use her as the host. For starters, given her history, in addition to all the obvious transvaginal ultrasound equipment that I already have squirreled away in my closet. Sorry. I'm sorry. I have a bunch of transvaginal ultrasound equipment in my closet. Yeah.
You just don't
It's normal.
understand.
This is another. This is another movie for Dope Pen Productions studio that's never gonna get made. But like, this is just fucking crazed fucking scientist man kidnap a bunch of fucking girls to like clone them.
I'd also like to purchase, or at least come in possession of, a laparoscope.
Hang on, real quick. I want his
I
slam
can
dunk.
see it now. I can see it. I can see
Human
the trailer
library.
now. I can see the trailer now. It's like it starts off with like a Grimes song or something, and it's a bunch of like fucking like college girls, and they're like, "This is gonna be the best summer vacation ever in Guyana,
Yeah.
bitches."
Smells like Teen Spirit, but sung by a white girl playing a piano.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
With some
And
like
then,
added
like-
Baroque music in the back.
About
and like
Yeah, and when
his bungalow, because that's what I'm assuming he's talking about. Renting on the beach is a fucking bungalow, so probably 3 rooms at best. Like his bungalow's right next to theirs, and they're like, "Oh my god, look at that creepy piece of shit over there!" Like, yeah.
He's just watching them during the day, just standing in the same spot for hours on end.
And then you start doing like the horror cuts of, and then like with the horror, like, like they're just running.
that song. It's got
You get,
that song.
you get them like laying on the beach and like looking over and seeing that there's this dude just like standing on the beach in like a doctor's outfit with like one of those fucking comically oversized fucking things on his forehead.
Okay, you know what I'm picturing? I don't know if anybody in here has seen this or remembers it, but I know what you did last summer. I'm just imagining that, but instead of the hook hand, it's just a pair of fucking baby forceps.
Oh, we could have a big twist at the end that all of the girls like escape and they make it out, but like actually they're all clones.
Yes.
One of the girls goes to a shower and she's got a lamprey attached to her stomach.
Or you know what? You like one of the girls, like they take off their shirt and she has no belly button because she's a clone.
Oh no! That would be a perfect ending to that. I love it. Ideally, I'd also like to have the ability to produce high resolution hystero pinograms as well. But given that the radioisotopes needed for producing hysteropilograms are not the easiest of contrabands to be transported, I realize that's probably unrealistic. In any case, these tools will help me rule out any physical abnormalities in the reproductive system that Random Lady may be at higher risk of due to, or that is, that may have been induced by infectious agents, gross physical trauma, and extreme self-abuse. You know, the regular.
So I'm going to just put a mental picture in everybody's head. I picture this guy looking like H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes, you say?
America's first. Yeah, H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer. Go ahead and Google it.
Oh, right, the fucking
That's
murder
how I
hotel.
picture this guy looking. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Murder Hotel seems right up this guy's alley.
Indeed. Also, since the endocrinological assays that are going to have to be run daily to monitor her human chorionic gonadotropin levels will require that I work in close proximity to batches of her fresh urine. You guys are going to have to spring for a battery of hepatitis shots. No, seriously. Finally, I'm going to have to need test kits to screen her urine for metabolites of drugs and
Hey, look,
abuse.
ladies, I can do all your pussy work, but you're gonna really want to get your shots afterwards. I'm not kidding.
That may seem overly harsh because presumably if she were to consent to carry what might be the most important fetus in the history of the planet, she wouldn't risk it by ingesting any drugs. Still, just as a precaution, I think it's worth it. Ugh. Sorry, I had to burp. Ate way too much food. Whew. Let me tell you a quick story that should clarify my insistence on this point. The first and only time I flew out to see her, we had planned to drive to the Grand Canyon. I rented a car and swung by her dorm around 8 in the morning. I picked her up. She's beautiful, smiling, filled with sparkly goodness. And when she hops in the car, she tells me that before we leave to the canyon, she has to do an hour of volunteer community service.
Add well to the collection. The tapestry.
Before we leave for the canyon, she has to do an hour of volunteer community service at a clinic over in the Indian school.
She's going to the canyon.
I figure, no problem. I'll just spend that hour with myself busily avoiding scorpions. I have no idea where Indian School Road is. So she directs me to the West Grand, and we get there pretty quickly. I pull out in the parking lot, pay the guy on the bench the entry fee, and prepare to wish her luck when she tells me there's no problem with me tagging along in the clinic. I'm pretty happy about this because I think that maybe I may be able to help with community service and prove what a nice guy I am. We cross the road and walk down to the front of the clinic where there are 2 benches outside on either side of the entrance. We each take a bench, nothing happens for 5 minutes, and I'm confused. But I figure that if I wait quietly for long enough, I'll figure out what's happening. A minute later, a person comes out to the window doors, the first person that had come out while we were waiting. The guy is medium height, already has a cigarette and lighter in hand, obviously planning to light up immediately. He's got a shaved head, quite possibly to conceal the early stages of male pattern baldness, a cow-style nose ring, and wears a wife beater that reveals not only the beginnings of a potbelly, but also a number of tattoos that must have looked really cool in 1991. Everything about him screamed, I was one of Fugazi's original fans, but never embraced the straight-edge ethic. I am now slowly attempting to gain a modicum of respectability. Just as he comes out, random lady hops up off the bench right into his path and says in this unbelievably winsome tone of voice, "Can I give you a kiss?" The guy eyes her up for a second, eyes me up for a second, and says, "Sure, why not?" He leans forward for a little peck, and random lady goes up on her toes, grabbing the back of his head with both hands, and just goes to town on him. When she came up for air, the guy laughed and said we should party sometime. "I'll see you around, sugar," she said to him, waving goodbye, and looking at me with all the smiles and pride of a job well done. I started to feel this pit up in my stomach, and even though it was about 80 degrees out, my skin is totally covered in goosebumps. A few more minutes pass, and a woman comes out. She's short, late 40s, wearing a Harley-Davidson t-shirt with the Harley logo severely worn, and although an obvious brunette, she's suffering from a peroxide job that reminds me of the decade-old yellow popcorn you buy at the movies. Her face is a topographical map of wrinkles, presumably a result of spending a lifetime on the back of a motorcycle, and she's wearing those bright neon mirror wraparound Ray-Bans and the sort of oddly pleated acid-wash jeans that pull the waist tight and produce a strange sort of distant bun thing just below it. She has these marks on her lips that look like burn scars. Random lady does this thing again. "Hey, excuse me, would you like a kiss this fine morning?" The lady spread her lips broadly, presumably intending to smile, but instead revealing a gap from which all of her incisors had fled, and says toothlessly, "Sure thing, hon. Bring it over here. Don't be shy." Random lady cradles the woman's head just as before, but this time the stranger lady grabs random lady's ass and gives it a solid squeeze, eliciting a happy squeal from her.
Can I pause real quickly, please?
Sure.
Because what the fuck is happening?
It appears that we have a lady who is currently trying to establish a itinerary of people that she can prostitute herself to. and she has recruited our author to essentially be her bodyguard during this.
Incredibly, Chad.
I'm so confused.
As soon as that happened, I reverted to the all-purpose plan for hopeless emergencies and certainly impending dooms. The plan I had hit upon in the process of barely surviving that hellish little acid trip I suffered through as an 8-year-old when that dirty fucking pedophile dosed my skim milk. Oh.
What?
I think we
Okay.
figured out what's going on with Benny.
Dude, can we get a rewind on that, please? I need to hear that last statement reread.
As soon as that happened, I reverted to the all-purpose plan for hopeless emergencies and certainly impending dooms. The plan that I had hit upon in the process of barely surviving that hellish little acid trip I suffered through as an 8-year-old when that dirty fucking pedophile dosed my skim milk.
So, 8 years old, accidental acid trip, pedophile ghost skin milk.
Pedophile dosed my skim milk. Remember Benny? The nurse? Matt. This is what I learned. Sit quietly, rock very
This
slowly,
one's
and wait
broken
for
me,
death.
Goat.
What?
I'm not gonna lie.
This one's what?
broken me. This one's broken. I
This is what
don't
I-
understand anything anymore.
This is what I had learned. I shall sit quietly, rock very slowly, and merely wait for death. Once your neuroendocrine system lets you drop into the plan, time begins to simultaneously speed up and slow down. Your senses become acutely focused, and everything you experience takes on a richness that it wouldn't ordinarily have. The way that man smelled of nicotine, the moistness of that dead lump of chewing tobacco, the heat coming off of the concrete, the looks of surprise and satisfaction that came across all of those men's faces when she had finished kissing them, the way that look gave way to one of purance, the way random lady's exquisite little pink tongue licked the lips of those people like a puppy dog and lustily licked her own lips like a little girl finishing her first illicit taste of creme de mint.
How you feeling, Matt?
I needed to.
Matt.
Welcome.
There you go.
I watched a parade of people come from the clinic, although I thankfully forgot almost all of them. Probably the worst was the mother. She was the only one that didn't want to kiss random lady. The suppleness on the flesh of cheeks indicated that she was young, probably about 22. Bags under her eyes and a certain haggardness that permeated her made her look much older. She was modestly dressed, wearing a dress suit combo that seemed at least a decade out of style. She was holding hands with an adorable little munchkin girl, probably about 3. Wearing a pleasantly poofy flower-patterned dress that had probably once been donated to a church, and wearing her honey-colored hair up in pigtails, sprouting out each side of her head. They, the pigtails, were wrapped in those elastic band plastic ball combination things that I don't know the name for. They're not berets, those are the folding kind. Her story seemed pretty clear. She was the sort of beautiful neighborhood sweetheart that wanted nothing more than to settle down as soon as possible with a neighborhood stud. She'd probably had the kid at 18 or 19, slowly got fed up with her moronic provincial husband, constantly demanding that she mother him, and realized that there was a much larger world out there, one that her childish husband was not equal to. "Hi," she squeaked in the friendliest way possible. "Can I give you a kiss?" The mother demurred, feigning business, so random lady says, "Would $1 sweeten the deal?" She flipped a folded dollar between her fingers. The woman looks at her suspiciously, then leaned over to dispense a quick little peck while she snatched at the dollar. Random lady was having none of that, of course. She grabbed her head and held on for all she was worth. The woman's eyes were open, darting around nervously the entire time the random girl was forcing her tongue down her throat. The little girl, all angelic sweetness and light, is suddenly afraid and pulls on her mother's hand and says, "Mommy, Mommy, did you know that woman? Jesus fucking Christ! At any given moment, when I think that horrible hour on the bench, I can hear those words exactly as she spoke them, in a little voice rising and with a swelling fear. Mommy, do you know that woman? Like she thought something was going to take her mommy away forever. Mommy, do you know? Like she is scared she's done something to make her mother angry. Mommy, do you know that woman? Like she's suddenly even more lost in a world that was already far too complicated.
Mother, this is awakening things inside of me, Mother. I want to kiss the random lady, Mother.
I looked away from the mother and daughter and felt a sudden crazy fear that if I watched them for an instant longer, I would lose my immortal soul.
I looked away, trying to hide my big old boner.
I would consider.
Can we all agree this is the worst prostitute ever? Like,
I know. She literally offered $1 for someone to sample her goods.
Yeah, like, what is this shit? Also, what a dumb bitch. Just ignore the fucking mom and child. Like, why would you go after those marks?
Probably because the clinic is all drug addicts, so she probably just assumes all of them are like fucking looking for quick fixes. I imagine that's the strategy.
Oh, like, I don't know.
That way she can prostitute herself for either money or drugs, because all of them are carrying. It's a smart business move.
I don't think it is.
Turning away.
I mean, for the most part, I guess it's a smart business move, but like going after the mom with the kid is like, why would you do that? That's like, that's not Icarus flying close to the sun. That's Icarus fucking trying to Tyson uppercut the sun. Speaking of, real quickly, quick little tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of you seen the video of Mike Tyson doing the training on his 53rd birthday? Or he's just he's punching.
There's an explanation for all of this soon enough, Matt.
Hang on, I want to see the. I'm looking at the Mike Tyson thing.
I saw a video of that, right? And like in the video, they slow it down to half speed. He punches so fast and hard at 53. Like when they slow it down to half speed, it just looks like a normal person punching.
Yeah.
Looking. Mother of fucking God.
It's terrifying.
Oh, you think he's in a box again? Yeah, give me a second.
He's kind of hinting at like he might want to do one more box, which I'm like, I know they are not in the same weight class, but I would love to see fucking Tyson knock fucking Floyd Mayweather's fucking head off. Tyson would fucking murder him.
You know, Tyson was he did Ip Man. I want to say 3 or 2. It was one of those.
Look at some of those swings.
I'm looking. I'm looking the fact that he can get low still.
Because here's the thing, like people forget with Tyson, he basically was forced to retire when he was still in his prime.
Oh, Lundy, my apologies.
Yeah. What?
I found him actually training. Turns out those ones that I showed you a second ago are him going slow. Not slowed down. That's him just casually. This is him at full force.
This is him trying.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, I think he could take a decent amount of the current contenders.
Look at how fucking fast.
Fucking insane.
I love that. Like, honestly, probably one of the peak athletic representations of like physical ability that we've ever had. I love that. Like,
I'm pretty sure one of those punches from Mike Tyson, like a Mike Tyson serious punch, like it would kill me.
Can I point back to something that happened years ago?
Sure.
He literally, with his hand just in a fist, directly out in front of his face, He literally broke Steve-O's nose. Steve-O ran directly
I remember
face first into Mike Tyson's face and broke his nose.
Because they tried to convince Tyson to punch Steve-O, and Tyson was like, "No, I don't want to do that.
That'd be a really bad
I
idea.
like
I'm
this
probably gonna
guy.
kill him.
Wow. I can't believe you guys are minimizing the actions of a rapist. You're a piece of fucking shit. Also, he's bad because he's a Muslim. And he voted for Donald Trump, so I'm going to beat him to death for the aluminum baseball bat. I would love Zen trying to come up and trying to talk down to Mike Tyson and explain what he did.
Yeah.
And Mike Tyson just be like, "I'd say I eat your children, but you ain't got none." Have you ever seen? You know,
putting
it's
up a
also
single-
for Mike Tyson. He is a lot smarter than people actually think he is. Like, there's this great video where he's talking about like the public library and stuff, and like, I forget what he's like. I think it's one of the Roman philosophers he's correcting the librarian on.
That's such a
And
strange
he's like,
thing
"No,
for him to just be read on.
You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say
like,
it.
no, I believe it's Aristotle you were thinking of."
I'm just gonna say it. Mike Tyson, based.
I want Mike Tyson to win a match and then have people interview him afterwards, being like, "How do you feel at the ripe old age that you are, still fighting very well against the youngsters?" And he just goes, "Well, you know, Jean-Paul Sartre once said that the only control that we have is the control of the actions in which we all do on our own."
Imagine how fun he's gonna be when he falls into like dementia. Randomly uppercutting his family.
He's gonna still be doing the fucking like movements. Like one of his family members is gonna be like, "What are you talking about, Mike? It's 2042," and he's just gonna be like, "No, he's gonna be like, no, it is." And he's gonna stand up with his fists up, start fucking bobbing and weaving back and forth. They're like, "Oh shit!"
You're gonna see his hands like shaking while he's sitting down. It's like, oh no, does he have Parkinson's like Ali? And he's like, oh no, that's his hand going down after he punches the ceiling. That's his leg really fast.
he's a literal Dragon Ball Z.
You look up at the ceiling. It's starting to crack slowly as he's just sitting there shaking.
So don't watch it now because it's an hour and 20 minutes long. But there's the interview with Mike Tyson at the New York Public Library, and he reveals his favorite show, Frasier. And then one of the things that got him through prison.
All right. We have all agreed to be a part of the Mike Tyson fan club, but we need to try to finish this.
Yeah,
Turning away from them.
We gotta end the Mike Tyson fan club meeting.
So
Yeah.
that we can get back to random lady who's apparently kissing everybody coming out of the clinic.
Let me adjourn. We also agree that rape was totally unjustified. All right. We're good. Not
Turning
guilty.
away from them, I looked through the window doors into the building. The doors opened into an atrium that appeared to be shared by 3 different offices. I looked at the doors to each office. One was marked radiography, but the lights were out. One was marked pediatrics, but the lights in that office were also out. The lights in the last office were on, and it must have been the only office that opened this early. Addiction treatment and recovery. That's when I understood. These people were all heroin addicts. They were all coming for their morning maintenance swig of methadone. Random lady was sucking out the residual methadone, mixed with whatever sort of food and mucus was stuck in their teeth. I felt dizzy and flashed on a story about methadone clinics in 60 Minutes I'd seen when I was a kid, about how they were run for profit, about how the methadone was artificially orange flavored. That's what she's tasting. She's tasting oranges. When When about an hour was up, I picked my soul up off the concrete and followed her, as if in a dream, back to the rental car. We both got in, and as I was about to turn on the engine, I looked at her and, as if it made no difference in the world, asked, "Why do you do that?" And she replied instantly, "I just like to help people get their days off to a good start," all sunny and chipper and full of good cheer towards her fellow men. I look at her sharply, like I'm not buying it, and ask her again, "No, really, why do you do that?" She crosses her arms and leans back in her seat, and she scowls at me like I'm some sort of pissy old fogey. College isn't getting any cheaper, and neither is heroin, she says, angry at me for my unspoken accusations. I never asked her about it again. I'm pretty sure that the trauma triggered by some sort of psychosomatic blindness, because I don't even remember seeing the Grand Canyon, even though I'm pretty sure we made it there. Anyway, the point of that whole story is that methadone metabolite EIA tests come in packets of 5 for $175. Over 9 months, that's going to come out to more than $9,000, I think.
Damn. It's hard out here for a pimp.
So that brings us to the other half of the equation, the donor.
So real quickly, no, this isn't off topic. This is actually, I think the Mike Tyson interlude did good because it refreshed my brain a bit. But did you expect? Because I know, Go, you read this before you spring this on us, you son of a fucking bitch. But Lundy, when this started off with Fantasy Island, what page are we on out of 32?
We are currently on page 17. We are on page 17 out of 38.
Halfway.
Yeah.
We're right smack dab in Act 2 of this. Did you expect at this point, he'd be tricked into being a pimp?
No, I don't. I expected absolutely any of this, Matt. Literally every single bit of this is all stuff I would have never thought.
Because it's been so long since Fantasy Island has been in the equation here. I'm imagining he's telling Ricardo Montalban all of this, and he's just like, hurry the fuck up, dude. Do you want to have sex with somebody or something? Or pet a dinosaur?
Yeah, he's just saying this entire story to him. He's just standing on the beach, just got off the boat, and he's explaining all of this to him. He's just like, "This is why I need $80,000."
Well, it's a plane. They would fly to the island.
Right.
No true fan. Lundy exposes himself.
Yeah. Fake fan over here. But yeah, so I'm just imagining Ricardo Montalban being like, "There's other guests, man. You're holding up the line. Come on."
Differential.
Wait, you became an accidental pimp? What?
Now, I imagine that the first question most of you want to ask me regarding differential doesn't concern the considerable technical prowess and biochemical sophistication that she brings to the project, but rather what the realistic odds are on her getting into bed with Random Lady. I'm not going to tell you what those odds are. Not yet. I will tell you that differential was not selected because I thought the sight of Random Lady would have dropping her trousers. No, she was selected for other qualifications. Now, I've only met differential once, but you only have to talk to her for 5 minutes to know that she's the sort of person Maslow wrote about, a true self-actualizer. People like her are like those runners that compete in hurdle events, commonly referred to as hurdlers, I believe. For them, life is clearly delineated, marked with obstacles that can be identified, measured, planned for, practiced for, and ultimately effortlessly cleared. People like this develop a sort of fearlessness. They may, sometimes, perceive themselves as being driven by internal fears, but they banish those thoughts into the bottomless pit of eternally repressed emotions that eventually reaches critical mass and propels them into the fiery suns of all-conquering megomaniacal psychosis. More important than the fact that they're never more than an emotional supernova away from either suicide or Ubermenschen, they never turn down a challenge. That's the one thing that is always true about these people. They're game. Ask them to help you swipe a box of cookies from the grocery store just for fun, and they will never talk to you again. Ask them if it's possible to get a not minus 70 degrees Celsius freezer out of a room that was built around it, get it down 4 flights on the service elevator, get it on the loading dock on a stolen U-Haul trailer, and off campus in the 15 minutes between the time the night watch leaves and the time the morning security habitually shows up, and they will say, yes, I will show you how to do this. This is the devil-may-care bravado that we need behind us to achieve victory. This is why Differential was willing to come aboard and assist with the project. She knows that we all get only one crack at this marble rock, and we have to make it count. I mean, fuck those billionaires trying to circle the Earth in a balloon. That's penny ante shit. You know those fuckers mustn't be not only totally incompetent and impotent, but also thoroughly brain dead. I mean, never have there been men as rich as those that presently walk the earth desperately seeking something to purchase so that they can inscribe their stupid name in it in an attempt to quell their fears of mortality. And never in the history of the world have there been so many avenues of research in which a suitably fat stack and a willingness to operate outside of the normal structures of peer review could produce so much meaningful, lasting importance. And what do these fuckers do? They try and win some race straight out of the 17th fucking century. Come on, Mr. Richard Virgin Bancroft or Ashcroft, whatever the fuck your name is. You want a thrill? You want to know you're alive? Spend 20 minutes with me in a pitch black room. I'll chew through your goddamn abdominal cavity if it means getting to the cool million you keep in that rectal money tube. So you keep so lodged up your ass that you can wear that great big yellow-toothed limey I'm a millionaire smile every place you go. Yeah! After that, balloon racing will be about as interesting to you as getting hand jobs from your mother. All right, back to the important topic at hand.
Hold on, before we get there. Also, first of all, telling a man that you're going to chew through his asshole pretty big.
Yeah.
Second of all, I was making a photo of it.
Okay.
I would like, Matt, you're here, right?
Please, Matt, tell me you heard all of that.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Listen, Matt, you might be fucking thrown out by this guy, but honestly, some of his little fucking rants sound like they directly come from you.
Real quick.
But maybe that's why I don't get it. It's like when you put like two animals next to each other and they hate each other. Or no, better example, it's like when you put like a mirror in like a bird cage and the bird tries to kill its reflection.
So back to the important topic at hand. Can I promise you hot sex between Differential and Random Lady? Well, let me tell you. I put Differential straight. Would she do Random Lady? Her exact words were, just because I have easy access to a lot of antibiotics doesn't mean I go around looking for new ways to catch gonorrhea. Adaptive systems. I think adaptive systems is this guy's handle. Now, that would seem pretty clearly put the kibosh on the whole thing. Trust me, though, in and of itself, this does not present an insurmountable barrier in uniting Differential and Random Lady and Sapphic Bliss. I can't even begin to tell you the number of sweet, God-fearing Catholic girls majoring in education I know in college that got themselves busily finger-banged by Jamie, the women's studies teacher, TA. The second that their ROTC boyfriend passes out on the couch. I mean, we are talking dozens and dozens, easily. I know, because Jamie was my girlfriend.
So you got caught.
Evidently, yes. Holy shit. Still, even though I secretly worry that deep down, when she ovulates, Differential thinks about rigid blood-swollen cock, purple and with anticipation, and doing with a single drop of pearly pre-cum, I can't help but see, maybe purely out of hope, slight indications of what my older, happily cohabitating, Jeep-driving, golden retriever-owning, softball-playing woman friends call the unmistakable glimmerings of a baby dyke awaiting guidance. Please note that I'm not stereotyping my older woman friends. They actually do drive Jeeps and play softball. I'm not using those traits as a sort of shorthand to imply that they're lesbians. They actually do
Please
do all
do
those things.
Please do not cancel me something awful.
They're good friends of mine, productive members of the community, run a successful independent business, and gush unbelievable puddles after the women's collegiate soccer games when all
They
the
gush
fans
a
are
lot,
cleared out
I'm
of the
sure.
bleachers and the coach convenes an immediate post-game meeting during which, with the sweaty soccer girls strip out of their Adidas jerseys and trunks, revealing tight black sports bras and bikini bottoms. This guy loves run-on sentences, I'll tell you what.
Wait, read the rest of that parentheses.
Incidentally, that's how I met them. All three of us share a mutual interest in collegiate female soccer, also in sloppy wet pussy. Now, it just so happens that I happen to find that gleam of dykishness insanely attractive.
I mean, same energy, but like,
Pretty much every single picture of me with every single one of my exes looks like someone took Morrissey, cloned him, shrunk both of them by a few inches, threw them in front of a camera, and told them to hug. Many of my...
I'll be 100% honest. I did not expect the Smiths reference somewhere in here.
Many of my girlfriends have left me for women. That's a price I'm willing to pay, again and again if need be.
That's the most unexpected part of this. The fucking Smiths reference.
There are just some amazing perks about dating lesbians working through their sexually confusing moments in their lives, or perhaps deliberately exploring what they're capable of responding to. First of all, you can learn how to do things with your hands and other people's pubic bones that no man or woman would independently discover in a lifetime of heterosexual practice. No shit. And when your girlfriend insists on giving you a haircut, you don't have to worry. She'll try and make you look like Fabio. She'll give you a nice high and tight and flat top, whether you ask for it or not. Also, you tend to develop a fuller appreciation of rugby. Dude, this could be a stand-up act. I swear to God, this could be a one-man fucking show, literally called $80,000 or Fantasy Island, where it's just this guy just saying this whole fucking thing.
Have we made a guess on what his age is? Because, like, I'm wondering what everyone's picturing.
So, like, at the time of writing this, I'm imagining him being 34 years old.
Oh, you went different. I was picturing, like, really old boomer, so, like, 50s to 60s.
Nah. Not if he's banging the lesbian teacher's aide that is also finger banging the Christian girl.
I don't know, because, like, age. When was Fantasy Island on? Wasn't that a 70s show?
So here's the biggest hint is him remembering when Fantasy Island and Love Boat came on. So I'm assuming he was. Yeah, I'm assuming he was a kid, not early kid, probably at least 8.
6 or 7.
Old enough to start forming like concrete memories about it. 6 is probably too young, I would say. 7 I could see. I'm placing it at 8. Like again, like he's probably at the age of like concrete memories for it. So this was early 2000s. So I'm gonna actually
at the time
say
of writing this,
maybe
probably
early
something like
20s, mid 20s,
mid 20s.
Yeah, like if he was a kid, like mid 70s, right, and then he grew up, like his teens was in the 80s. Oh, you know, yeah, early 30s actually. So
yeah, early 30s. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe late 20s to early to 30s.
That's why I'm thinking like 33, 34, something like that. That's my.
So here's my question, Matt. Why you're the same age as he was? Why are you not selling women into prostitution and like lampreys?
Why are you not fucking lampreys, Matt?
Because I don't have like severe dementia or whatever this fucker has. That's the other thing too. Is he's going back to figuring out his age. I'm assuming he's got some kind of higher learning.
Yeah,
it's not all like bluster with him. So like I'm guessing he at least did 4 years in a medical school. Maybe less because he does kind of seem like the kind of person who would drop out.
He did say he knew a lot of lesbians in college. So at the very least,
Yeah, so I'm thinking early 30s. I'm agreeing with Lundy on this. Early 30s.
All right.
34 might be a little too old, though. I would say, like,
We need to get back
I'm
there.
going to say 30, right on the dot.
Still hoping that we're able to finish this.
I did happen to make the mistake of offhandedly mentioning my attraction to this to Differential, which prompted her to state very unambiguously that that sort of thing would not be tolerated in any shape or form. Sorry. Whew, fuck. Too much. Her exact words to me were, "If you fucking touch me, ever, I will kill you with a fucking Hagedorn needle in your left fucking nostril. In your left fucking nostril!" Now, I'm not exactly sure what a Hagedorn needle is, but assuming that it actually can be used to kill me in the aforementioned fashion, I'm extremely frightened of it. Also, it bears nothing that the way she said fucking was like she was discharging an Ithaca pistol grip shotgun. The was an explosion of an anti-personnel flechette round, and the king was the crisp, keenly cocked readmission of a shell into its chamber. It was, you know.
Can I just say, I do appreciate him not embarrassing her by including at the end where she either said burr or
It made me feel a chill, back of the neck, rapid ascension of testicles, the whole bit. And she did actually repeat the left nostril part. I'm not making this up. Okay. All of that is probably tangential. For him to mention tangents in the midst of all of this. Like, maybe I'm a little off topic here.
Hey, Matt, you have any cousins who go to Africa at any time of the year?
Oh.
All right.
What we're really talking about here are two beautiful women in bed. That is, we're talking about what the odds are that two specific beautiful women will wind up in bed. Now, with a basic understanding of probability, we can tell what the chances are if we know the probability that each woman will be willing to sleep with the other. Now, when it comes to randomly, we can confidently assume that probability is 100%. With regards to differential, we are lacking some information. And have to use a special kind of number technically known to statisticians who subscribe to the Bayesian school of probability as the universal prior. In this case, the universal prior is 30%. Now, again, using math, we can tell that the odds of these two young women making a love connection are obviously somewhat less than 100%. Fear not, I have a plan for dramatically increasing these odds, and I can state it succinctly in one word. Liquor. Now, these women love liquor. I'm telling you, this can be a one-man performance. I'm telling you, this would make fucking gangbusters if there was just a person just on a stage just saying all of this. Holy shit. Especially those funny colored mixtures. With the I have no idea what in them. Because I'm as dry as the Mojave. A few bottles of this, a few bottles of that, a couple of those blue-colored ones with the umbrellas, maybe some of those coffee-flavored milky Russian ones, combined with a few stretches and yawns from me, leading me to beg to be excused from the great game of charades we've been going for in early bedtime, and I can pretty much guarantee Goon Girl on ex-Goon Girl action. In fact, I can come back the next morning, and Random Lady and Differential are not... If I come back the next morning and Random Lady and Differential are not an exquisitely braided tangle of fair-skinned thighs, mussed and knotted hair, sweat-soaked sheets, I will return all of your donations. In fact, I'll go further. If this plan doesn't result in Random Lady and Differential getting down to a form of grunting tribadism so pure, so suffused with a gleaming sublimity, bespeaking a whole other order of evaluating the meaning of your life, so undeniably an eruption of divinity into this world that it could and should have been ripped from Greek myth, I will refund your kind donations in full.
So the plan now is just to have two girls have sex on camera and him.
Well, he's trying to replicate parthenogenesis in humans. So yes, technically speaking, that will require two girls to have sex and have that adequately lead to reproduction. So, yeah. In fact, if a part... No, I already
Crazy person.
In fact, yeah, never mind. I didn't read this bit. In fact...
Lesbian.
If upon opening the door and gazing upon the tableau of their naked cotton-wrapped bodies, I am not struck down by fear of something so incomparably ancient and yet so eerily new that the apprehensiveness does not slowly build within me, growing towards an absolute conviction that I am in the presence of something so indescribably beyond all human comprehension that it does not crush and shatter my consciousness in such an absolute and irrevocable fashion that I fall out of this universe entirely into the absinthe-soaked and sweat-drenched body of Arthur Rimbaud, in London, fucking that detestable orangutan Paul Verlaine. What a spineless piece of murder. The way he let me, a boy of merely 16 years, twist him around my finger and lure him away from his beautiful wife and luxurious home to Paris in this English hovel. Donne-moi, Don Foutre, he grunts. Donne-moi, Don Foutre. Shut the fuck up! Donne-moi, Don Foutre.
Yo, Paw Patrol, baby.
This is a mental breakdown on paper.
How's my mic sound?
It sounds fine. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit.
Hunga bunga, be had a stroke.
Holy fuck. Holy shit.
This is the most interesting man in the world.
I'll be honest, it kind of is.
We have to continue.
I know.
I want his story told by the end of the night.
While I'm sorry. While I'm digging my dirt-encrusted fingernails into that fat that hangs from his pelvis, he turns his head to me. Je veux le chat, ton frère, he says, again, insistently. Je veux le chat, ton frère. Fucking piece of shit, why haven't you bought me a nice velvet coat? Shut the fuck up, you stupid! I pick up the lamp of the table by the swinging handle and whip it down on his pathetic balding head.
Oh, so now we're on attempted murder. That's great.
A thick gash opens instantly, unleashing a satisfying red flow. He makes a hiccuping noise with the impact of the blow, but doesn't lose consciousness. I hit him twice more with solid arcing blows, delivered with enough force to ensure that I won't have to deal with his shit until sometime after the sun rises. I pull out of his hideously filthy onion. I push his body off of the bed and make myself comfortable, preparing to settle into a deep sleep, knowing that despite all of this, he will still buy my breakfast in the morning, until finally waking 12 hours later to find the women gone outside the compound, outside the security perimeter, outgone somewhere between Accra and anywhere. I search for them desperately, but to no avail, and they return at their leisure the next day, bearing meaty shashlinks, dripping with grease and fat, black, sanguinese grapes, neither of which I could have possibly have obtained anywhere in West Africa. I try and talk to them, but I find that I have trouble looking at them when I talk. When I look at them, my eyes hurt as if I'm looking out the window, into the glare of the sun, out on the warm and inviting ocean that I have been too busy to visit. And you must read faster now, much, much faster now. You must read faster to understand. Faster, faster. You must read faster now to understand. You must read faster to understand. I come in a matter of days to suspect that the course of events that has been set in place in that bed, wet with vaginal secretions and a perspiration, and even from where? Blood, will lead to a heedless violation of all natural laws, and open a fissure between this world and the overpressured chaotic void of chattering dread that surrounds us, of allowing an inflowing of radical indeterminacy and the painfully mechanistic world of the bankers and the statesmen with their trivial and boring ambition and manage the plan that work endlessly towards realizing that ultimate crime, the murder of nature, which could never be brought about in truth, but only through a sort of make-believe of control. The belief that everything is under control, that the economy is under control, the government is under control, and the schools are under control, and the prisons are under control, the hospitals are under control, the war is under control, the disease is under control, that the environment is under control, and that you are under control, and that your life is under your control. For the truth is that not 1 inch of this world has ever or ever will be subdued by the forces of control. This is the truth that shall finally capsize this boat, which has served us admirably, but is now our prison galley, sailing forever away from our home. And when this boat is capsized, when all become aware of the lie of control, when the sweet squirmishness of 2 girls in simple, ecstatic, sexual love pull back all of the lies that we have so carefully matted against the windows of a world, like lace dollies of some fearful ancient do-wagger, whose betrothed died the day before our sacred matrimony was to take place, sparing us even the dignity of the widowed. When you understand that there are no guarantees, no promises, no second chances, that you are subject to death without warning. Admittedly, none of this quite makes sense. I swear to you 16 hours ago it did. I had some sort of vision of how all of this would unfold, and I can't quite recapture it now. Perhaps the things of which I now speak will only become truly clear when they come to pass. I'm fairly sure there was a lot of blasphemy, though. Now I'm heaping portions of it that would swell even the most generally agnostic forum reading public into an angry mob thirsty for my blood. Perhaps it's best if I forgot it all. When you suddenly understand that just as you are subject to death without warning, so too are you free to live without warning. That you are free to love without warning. That you are free to love who you want without warning. That you are free to love what you want. You are free to love how you want without warning. When you take that and tattoo it on your heart, that you are free to live without offering warning. You are free to love and to live and to want without warning. When that supremely simple fact becomes clear, when it becomes as obvious as the pleasure of those 2 women feel.
We serve food here.
When it becomes as obvious as the pleasure those 2 women feel, in bed, drunk like only the holy can be drunk, as obvious as that endless series of undulating orgasms emanating outward from that small, sacred, central spot cradled between their bodies, that racks them with a shocking terror of release, of freedom, of something so fantastically, wonderfully beyond their wildest imaginations that they can do nothing but cling tightly to each other's precious little bodies. It will produce an indwelling without parallel in human history.
I'm waiting for one of your neighbors to knock on your door and be like, "Shut the fuck up, man."
I'm kind of hoping that doesn't happen. I heard movement, so I'm going to be slightly quieter now.
Yo, you dumb faggot. I'm tired of you listening to autistic shit on the internet.
It shall be an indwelling not only of the world's most usual.
It is Saturday.
The creators, prophets, visionaries, junkyard warriors, tinkerers, madmen, melon fuckers, but also the synesthetics, the synesthesiacs, who see sound as color, the shagrons, those who wander in error, the Tershathas, disguised viceroys and perfects of Persia, and the Tirthankaras, forgers of passage in unknown worlds, the physiolaters, slathered in dirt, the behemonists, who are both poets and lechers, the bleeding penitents, the blameless parasuicides, the outstriders, crippled in distant wars, the elderly obasis, ancient watchers of clouds, their brothers, the crambazils, storied and dying, the proud homagers, with their heraldry, the humble cordwainers in smocks and sandals, the defortients at the front, the German cousins given up so long ago for dead, the Pleonists who are mocked for wearing spiked helmets, but always enjoy the last laugh, the polymaths, valuably voracious, the Cephonics, full of ponderous plottings, the Vigisemators, who kill every 20th person, keep count, the Adoxiferous, arguing constantly with the oh no, listen, I have been forced to read a lot of words that I can't possibly fucking pronounce. This right here
Hang on, let me check.
is not one of them.
Where is it?
That one.
Hang on. Looking at our DMs. Where is it?
It's not in the DMs. I put it in general.
I know, I'm going back.
Give that one a shot.
I'm gonna go Google and try. Fuck that.
Walking Austin Hill Pill Oh god.
That's fucking
Wait.
impossible.
Hang on, I'll be right back. You got.
Also, you know what's fun? He also spelled it incorrectly. It's actually much longer.
Oh man, I have to take a breath. I can see that word. That's my bookmark because I gotta go to the bathroom and take a big old piss.
Nah.
So
Synonyms
apparently,
of
it's the
communication.
action. It's the action or habit of estimating something as worthless.
I like big words. Are you still good to go on this?
I think Lundy went to take a little pee break.
I know, I was talking to you.
Oh yeah,
I just
this is
want to make
madness.
sure. I love it. This is one I've been sitting on for a long time.
I thought this was just gonna be like, I want to fuck a kid on Fantasy Island. Let me fuck the midget.
Nah.
How much money to fuck the midget?
Damn, waiting for Lundy on a piss break.
His neighbors have come in and just beaten him to death.
Yeah.
I have returned.
Alright, let's do this.
The Anticians, unknown always, unknown. The Apanthropiacs, alone, always alone. The Apocatastasists, brave lovers of all of the damned in hell. The Water Bailiffs, playing their four-legged virginalis. And, well, the Gaberlunzi, toothless and kind. The Abersonatis, bearing copper and blind. The Galaguntusi, fearing the deaths they cause with each footfall. The Armamancers, scapula in fist. The Cheliopraklytics, who awake when their lips are kissed. The tallow chandlers setting lit candles in the ground as they follow. The Gynoticolobomasophiliacs, forever nibbling on fair maidens' earlobes. The Jeloscopics, cackling forth our only future. The Abdarians, cackling forth nothing. The Patokrats, regal in sackcloth. The Gamomaniacs and Gamophobics, hand in hand, terrified and ecstatic. The Graphologists, eternal anus gazers. The Cacospectomaniacs, who dream endlessly of shiny lumps of shit raining from above. The Cargers, lusty rip snorters best avoided. The Pythogenicists that fell out of the dumpster this morning, unafraid and expecting love. All of them and more will draw nigh to the Most High, Bone Crafter and all-provoking Mother. All of them all of them, and more, shall desert the cities of Rome, Jerusalem, and Mecca, leaving them windswept backwaters of no consequence, all of their supposed greatness reliquated to a mute history books that will soon be burned, gladly burned. Towards this great end, there shall be a gathering of forgotten heroes, of the Pyrrhonists, who are frightened men but sharp, the Pernotractors, who read through dawn, the Philoxenists, who speak only to strangers, the Dystyliogists, shouting, no purpose, no goal, no end, the Drearymancers, faces mottled with blood, muttering dithryambs as they do their deadly work, and finally, the Accipitrines, hawk-nosed and effete, all and more shall surround those that must still be cleansed from this earth, those who cling stubbornly to the dead cities and the dead powers, the fearful Haediherists, tortured souls that seek to torture you by speaking endlessly of hell, always of hell, the agitators, short-selling their mothers and blatted and bluttoid blotterers, gurgling forth their treacherous botophobia, the boulder-raising agapete, flaunting their modest lies, the adhorcrats, who always sought to have their way with you, the balatrons with their nonsense, the acrophiliacs, pointing and pointing and pointing, the blandiloquent blatherskites, cloying with you, but toying with destroying you, the apeirophobics, who cover their eyes when it counts, the brevistrovit, bromidosiphobiac bophorelas, who will never leave their buphoniform baths, the autovixophiliacs, singing blissfully only to themselves, the pathologists, haggling with the pleased Camfrachico, who deforms children before he sells them, and all the foul philophasters, the third-hand criticasters, the physiguncus, the malversationists, plotting powerfully for ill, and the misogynists, who vomit forth an endless stream of hatred, all shall be entombed within their books and their peripheral devices, in the subterranean cromlechs from which they were spawned. And we who shall survive, shall summon the babies born with crushed faces, the millions of expendable dead, the birds of paradise extinct without appeal, all the lost, all of the drowned. We shall summon them all, and all that they lost, all of it, all of it, all of the invective, all of the accusations, all of the terror, all of the needless pain, all of the pointless punishment that we have borne on our splintering backs. Lo, these many years, all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it and more. And it shall be as a noxious pestilence, a boiling tar of wasps and broken glass and flaming razor wire, and we will bring it down upon all of them, all of your Grovic monks, all of your lying masses, all of your fat idleness, and I can already see it filling up your mouths, evil mouths, that have spoken falsely of blessings and curses, that have maligned the simple seekers after truth. And I bring it down upon your heads so that your flesh may bake and crack down upon your hands, that sought so zealously to torture, to slice out their tongues in the name of love, and I bring it down upon your faces, so that they might melt. Those faces that accused only the courageous will drip from your scowls, and I send it down to cook through every fissure of your minds, the minds that you use to build penal carts, to send around, to collect your foul gold delivery. And I see it present to your ears as a burning order. Cauterize the foul fuckholes that allowed such lies to penetrate you in the first place. Nothing shall escape save for the ascending smoke of your half-choked words. Pathetic pleas for a mercy you never granted, and even those words shall be caught and set ablaze, and even they will be consumed until nothing remains but the ashes of their ashes. Then, only then, when the world is free of the old
So
powers.
he's just turned into Rorschach for Watchmen.
The Abecedarians, held tight, tiny toed and fresh, shall finally be carried forth by the Asyncanites, who behold only the number 10 raised in the 63rd power forever and forever. Side by side with the Butastrophedinists, running left to right and right to left and back again, followed by the baleful Keudles, hungry dogs, nearly dead, and with the Kirkbuzzers, who steal from churches, but only to eat. Yet also the audacious Melusugans, ravenous suckers of honey. The Molendacius, who spin after the wind. The Enthetes, whom even we fear. The Minimifidins, who say, perhaps, perhaps not. The Erotemi, who asks, question mark, and receives meaningless, meandering messages from the Mytocysticist, whom always muses the letter mem, even when it is not Dombar. All of them, and more will follow and watch as the All-Mother shall sit to dine with the last lonely Apicaros, with whom she shall eat pig flesh and consume it with him, as if it were the last remnant of a long-dying god. And then, sub-Saharan Africa, with its lush jungle still defiantly intact, shall become home to the new people, a people arisen from a complete confluence of all genetic diversity, producing a new race of short, lithe, caramel-colored, black-haired, proud explorers with fearless obsidian eyes protected by sexy elliptical epicanthic folds. They will hold nothing resembling ideology, and there will be no usury. And governing will not be the avocation of the professionally deceitful adocracy, but a shared duty to be shouldered by all, united under a heretofore unimaginably uncompromising love of this world, and this body. We shall be witness to the birth of a fascism of clitoral pleasure.
That's one hell of a line.
Feral, with an explosion of breasts round, shaped like avocados, pendulous, arcing, reminiscent of champagne glasses. Holy shit. Eternally budding, and areolas that are elliptical, slender, great, fat, wide, and buttocks that are narrow, spherical, heart-shaped, sagging, cervixes tickled by fingers, cocks, and nipples that are tended by sucklings and fawns, and also free, and also severed, and labia that hang like curtains of velvet flesh, and that are drawn tight, taut, as tempest-blown sails, and the hollowed clitori, large like thumbs, small like jelly beans, some too sensitive to be touched, some that can bear only the warmth of a lover's breath, others that demand constant vigorous attention and playful biting. Every woman shall be met at her menarche with a bath of rose petals and serrated blades. Each shall have the option of endless procreation, of extending her line forward into perpetuity. Each shall have the option to be clean of all men for all time. And what of the men? They shall be freed from the manacles of the broodmare that have long led their long, sad atrophy, weakening and warping their originally godlike minds to the sorry, shallowly sensual and sessile state in which they are presently pointlessly persist. The existence of men will no longer be guaranteed, nor taken for granted. The possibility of imminent extinction will propel them forward, beyond the insipid facility of those who ignorantly presume to rule, blind to the long-ago erosion of the never-more thing than imagined sovereignty. And those would-be rulers shall have their cocks split lengthwise, and their scrotums removed with white-hot tongs in explosions of hissing semen and cooking connective tissue. Each man will be free to find an ancient, never-spoken-of purpose, and each will be free to claw his way back from the syphilitic stupor in which he currently lives. Men who find no purpose, men of no utility, will be ground underfoot and all shall be held blameless in their deaths. No longer will anything be assumed in the relationships between and within the sexes. There will be no unspoken assumptions. Fears and hatreds will rage as openly as wildfires and will be spoken of as bluntly. There will be no coercion stemming from disparities in power of weakness and affection. There will be no sentimentality. Everything will be negotiable. New words will be needed to describe entirely new concepts of relatedness. Polyamorous tribes of book readers will run fucking, fisting, flaying, and fleeing into the depths of the forest, never to be seen again. Some will burrow deeply into the earth until they encounter the dark mineral intelligence that hath hacked forth each new age. Be it of bronze, be it of iron, and the things that dwell within the rocks will whisper. We have no more unimagined alloys for you. You are on your own. Others, through unsparing deliberation or unanswerable despondency, shall scatter as celibates and disavow the use of tools entirely. Choosing to live off the grubs they rip from the soil with their fists, seeking to duel dangerously with the long, dark, lonely night of the soul. Others shall find a way to bear the fruit of man, impossible, from the loins of men. And vast quantities of semen will bubble forth as if from undersea vents, giving birth to societies for which the Spartans could only have hoped. Jesus fucking Christ. And they will hurry down deeper and deeper into the warm earth and will wage endless wars of such savagery that Valhalla shall be emptied, and an ocean of blood and brains and sperm will swirl at the center of the earth amidst the force of unholy thermonuclear concussions, blasting all the souls of men free, free, free to fight and die again. And then, at long last, a Phaudroian boundary shall be riven between the time and space that the once feared stasiogenesis of the eternally crippled souls, and the new and perdurable order of the All-Mother, one that shall be thick with the faulty odor of menstrual effluvia and afterbirth. What? 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 Alrighty then.
I don't know. I don't know anything that's been happening for like the last 5 minutes.
We shall set
Like this is
that the task of guarding this boundary, for it knows the power of all distinctions and fears them too well, to allow any other passage. And if you have questions about its name, you can ask it your own goddamn self. Frankly, I don't enjoy talking to it very much because it freaks me the fuck out. And if you want to make fun of its name, by all means, please march right up to it and make fun of its name. Good fucking riddance to you. Each of us that has survived, that has endured the tests of the All-Mother, that breathe the musky air of this, our newly born world, shall make of our umbilical cord a noose, and thereby never forget the foul-smelling darkness of which we come, and the foul-smelling darkness to which we rush. All of us, all of us, all of us, and more, shall hearken unto the All-Mother as she cradles softly to her newborn Plisky fawn. And we shall draw near her and lower our heads to lick at her ankles, in fervent jubilation for her triumph, and to exalt her and her infinitely wide progeny. And we shall worship her in all her slick, lubricated cornipiscence. And through her, we shall discover new kinds of love, new kinds of sex, new ways of living that will be measured in saliva-coated flesh, weighed by caterpillars, packaged in rotting carcasses, bought by the leaves, sold to the dirt, marked down by the maggots, planned by the ants, and known across time to the howling cries we bark for the sexy bitch that born us so. I can only put it thusly: if the heedlessly initiated and zealously pursued goal of producing womankind from womankind does not lead to a complete psychotic break within the whole of human history, if all of these events do not come to pass in the fullness of time, I will refund all of your donations. And please don't whine to me of the bioethicists, who, those pathetic filifasters, those and mealy-mouthed, mush-minded murderers of my moral certainty, do not complain to me that the creation of a new order of human life ought to be hijacked by a fearful people that say, but what if the creation is an abomination? What if it is ugly to all who behold it? What of it? God produces 1,000 crushed babies a day. Monsters that, for the lack of a few flecks of cholesterol, lose that essential ability to bind those few crucial cell surface receptors and leave some new soul lacking ventral tissue. And almost always born dead, though the most unfortunate survive and are born with single cyclopean eyes, protonasal protuberances, and with no normal human anatomical analog, but alive, nevertheless gurgling, a blindness propelling them forward through what kind of shadowy existence you and I could not dare to guess at. For fear that we may adequately imagine it, imagine what it might be like to live as a half-brained Cyclops baby, and for what reason are 1,000 such afflicted girls brought into the world each day? For what reason is but one such afflicted girl brought to the world on any day? So that she may find the glory of resurrection, the self-aggrandizing sacrifice of God for his own glory? Shall we pretend that God brought her into this world to find the love of his only son? Shall we pretend that this girl will come to know and worship the Holy Trinity, when she can know neither light or dark, nor speak, nor listen, nor move in anything other than a hideous sea anemone like flopping? If this is not God's fault, then whose is it? Shall we blame her suffering, as God does, upon the disobedience of Adam? Shall we tell ourselves that all is right and good with her crushed face, because we must pay for the sins of Adam, her 6,000-year removed great-grandfather? If you believe there dwells an eternal soul within this accursed child, where shall it make its home on the everlasting? If she cannot declare Christ her personal Savior, confess her culpability for the original sin, how shall she enter heaven? If God will make an exception for her and admit her soul into heaven after the brief flickering that is all she shall ever know of life, then what possible purpose does subjecting her to this pointless torture serve? Shall we accept the Calvinist doctrine of predestination and comfort ourselves with the thought that no matter how terrible the suffering visited upon this child, it is precisely what she deserves for having an evil soul? A soul created by God with no prior existence of its own to be evil, and therefore have abundantly earned the agony of its existence. If we can believe that and accept that, is there any lie too terrible for us to believe? Those who believe this, those who worship their basest of lies, they are not fit for discussion. They are fit for consumption. When I turn on the television and see the electronic preachers condemn the paralytics, the malformed, the half-dead, the born-crushed, to an undignified death that could have been prevented but for their superstition, I do not become angry. I become hungry. I think of boiling their fat jowls down for dinner. I dream of eating their quadriceps in drooling pleasure, thinking about how satisfying a delicacy their testes will make in a stew. I view them as the chimpanzees of the Gombe view the red colobos monkeys. They may look like people, but they are not my people. They are my people's food. I extend them no rights, no recognition of personhood. I would happily forego a plate of the finest Angus beef for a plate of their haunches. A steer has at least the decency not to defame or inform on its own kind. There never was a steer that pushed another ahead faster to its execution. Every time I see the preachers on TV, I get a raging craving for meat. I want it immediately, rare and juicy with blood. I want every bite of flesh to squeeze blood out of soft, gummy tissue. Too much blood to swallow, flowing out of my mouth and running down my chin. Do not misunderstand me. I have no interest in torturing these animals. That would be cruelty of the basest kind, of which I vehemently disapprove. I just want the opportunity to slip off their jackets, undo their ties, unbutton their shirts, unbuckle their belts, untie their shoes, peel off their socks, slip off their watches, yank off their boxers. I want to hang them upside down from the rod that supports my shower curtain and slit their throats from ear to ear and leave them to drain. I want to quarter them, deflesh them, and debone them, and cook them to 350 degrees until the insides of their arms and legs become slightly pink. I consider this gustatory impulse an essentially healthy one, but I will admit to nursing a slight macabre desire to eat their heads raw. I wish to decapitate them, draw their sightless eyes level with mine, and, pulling on their remaining wisps of hair on their balding heads, suck their tongues into my mouth and feel the back of their tongues split under my incisors. Feel them pass through my throat hole like strips of calamari.
Question.
Sorry, what was that, Matt?
I got a question.
I don't think I'll have an
What
answer,
the
but you can go ahead and ask. I don't know, Matt. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. This has become quite the bit of the rant. We went from actually, I can't even map this out anymore in my mind. This is
So Fantasy Island.
Fantasy Island to I need $80,000 to I want to fund a Parthenogenesis experiment to
$80,000.
I had to whack off to Lampreys to try and
Carmen.
get a bonus so that I could get started on this. To there was something after that, but
Fiasco
before the girl.
97.
That was before the Lampreys. I don't remember, but I do know that we eventually got to the one girl, random girl, sucking the mouths of people who have just taken their medicine for methadone, trying to get a little bit of it. And then briefly touching on the very driven girl who has informed the author that if he ever touches her, she's going to kill him. To him fantasizing about making sure that the two of them end up fucking by getting them drunk. To a very long tirade about the New World Order that will result from their eventual Parthenogenesis made child. To a strange rant about the theology of Christianity, more specifically Calvinism, to declaring he would like to eat Christian preachers because they are not people in his eyes and merely pigs. That's about what I can remember. I want to slip my thumbs under their eyes and pop them out and gnaw them into a gelatinous mush. I want to crack through the thin layer of bone at the back of their orbital sockets, hold their heads up and drink their pink and custardy brains like one would drink milk from a coconut. There is perhaps the slightest inclination towards superstition here, I admit, some urge towards cephalomancy, a desire to imbibe and come to know the future through my consumption of their heads, as if every face so eaten allows a few instants to fly into the future, where they shall wait patiently to see me again and thank me for their freedom. Okay, finally, I just wanted to promise you guys this isn't one of those deals where I'm going to hit you up for money and fund the silk screening and then go out and spend the money on a digital camera to be used to take pictures of my genitalia to post alongside stories about how I'll fillet any strange old man for a single can of beer. Note, I do not fillet men for beer. That was ill fates. I'm making fun of ill fates. I already have a digital camera, and I hardly ever take pictures of myself except for personal use with extreme expensive image analysis software to gauge the effects of my steadily decreasing decadurability consumption on the length, girth, and shape of various anatomical landmarks. Neither will I blow these precious funds on hookers and coke. Even if I were partial to those sorts of proclivities, I have differential to keep me in line. She's the trustworthy and responsible type. And if I waste so much as a nickel, she'll slit my throat with a surgical scalpel with such speed that I'll never know what killed me. You can count on her to keep me in check, believe me. There is a very delicate and fearful detente between she and I, which I am very attentive to maintaining. All the more so now that I know about her problem with lost time. Although, to be completely honest and upfront, as soon as I have her eggs growing in Random Lady's wanton little belly, I plan on finishing her off with a two-handed sledgehammer while she sleeps. I know that seems cruel, and I would personally much prefer to use a firearm, but the noise may alert the suspicions of the 24-hour armed guard. Frankly, I don't need someone competing with me for control of Random Lady, and Miracle that will soon pulse within her. Okay, that's harsh. Maybe I won't. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I won't. Once the child is born, they can do with it as they please. I'm just the midwife here. Once that creature opens its all-seeing eyes, I'm fucking out of there. It's really the only decent thing to do. Yeah. Anyway, now that Random Lady is gone, I don't think that people are going to have all that much interest in the project, much less be willing to PayPal me all of the money. As an added incentive to donate, I had thought that if somebody foots the entire $80,000, they get to name the baby. Otherwise, it's up to Differential and Random Lady. Personally, I'm pulling for the name Phaedra, but it's not my call to make. Or maybe Futanari. That's a pretty good name. In any case, I think the 80,000 is a pretty good bargain, given that the name of this child, the sound attached to the unfolding of Differential's genome in the warm hormonal bath of Random Lady's womb, will be the only word from this or any other language that will still be spoken by human lips 10,000 years from now. So in conclusion, since I can't get any more money in real life, my visit to Fantasy Island would somehow involve coming into possession of $80,000. Now, the question is, what neat psychological insight can you offer me so that I can see that I was already a perfectly good person before I got the money? That's the real riddle of Fantasy Island. Well, while you guys think about that, I have to be off to spend the evening in a minimum security lockup. It's really not that bad. So I hope you guys have a good one, and I hope to see you here tomorrow. Best of luck and all that. Jesus Christ.
That ended weirdly. I felt like I was right. That didn't make it better.
No one's gonna stop beats and flow. Just a one little thing. Each one of us, one another life goes on. 가성사 사스터나 아무리 웃달래요 내 가스터나 다시가나 모두 나리다네 지금대만 모두 다린다네 다시 나가네 네 막가네 우리 다시 만나네 네 막가네 Life is 東からそう西をめがけ闇切り裂いてMy beats 満たしたらそう虹を描けやめれれないですBody people want the place to be Somebody keep on behind the response 大地蹴り上げるそのマシン空を見上げるその眼差しつかの間のムービーもゴースパイスでムービー刺激してくロンムービー空気深く吸い込んで前向こうよ Life goes on Many minds so many lives all the time make me so crazy Tango every line for the mind Let me go crazy No one's gonna stop beats and flow Just a one little thing Each one of us, one another life goes on朝を負けしたら夜に狂いそうな切なさ照らすのはその不思議だけ今はほらどうも知りだけ季節は流れ